back, everybody. So today we're going to have a side-by-side of Natural Ice and Bud Ice. Now I did do a standalone review for each one, so if you want to go check those out, I will put a link or a card up above. So this is just an overall everybody can get series. Just to open it up, I do a lot of craft beers, Jessica and I do, and we wanted to do a small series on let's appeal to the masses. Let's try some of these that we might not have or haven't tried in years and years and years. So I was at the gas station, and these are the first two that I picked up. Now, I have done like the Busch Light Apple, Natter Days, and a couple other ones. So that's why they're open. I'm just going to go ahead and fill them up. So that way they are about even. They're made from Anheuser-Busch, both of them. My guess is they go through the same exact process. After fermentation, they do chill them down to create ice crystals. My guess is they do pull those off. Supposedly it's supposed to make for a smoother beer. Pulling that water off because the water is going to turn to crystals before the alcohol. The longer you let you let it chill, the more ice crystals form, the higher ABV that the beer is going to be. So Natural Ice, it was a 2 for 2. I only bought one, so I'm not sure how much a single was, but the Bud Ice was $1.19. It didn't have two for $2.50 or anything like that, at least where I went. So the Natural Ice is coming in at 5.9. The Bud Ice is 5.5. So in my mind, on the Natural Ice, they are letting that freeze a little bit more to pull more of those ice crystals out. Now, it could be that they are using more grain, driving up that ABV just a little bit more than, freezing it the same amount of time. But my guess would be they just make the same batch, let it freeze a little bit more, pull it off, higher alcohol. Then with the Bud Ice, obviously they're not pulling off as many crystals because that's the water. So the water you take out, the higher your ABV is going to be. So the less crystals you take out, the lower your ABV is going to be. Now, I did go back to Untappd just to check. Natural Ice is 5 IBUs. And Bud Ice is 15 IBUs. So we do have a little bit of difference in there. I think I said it in the Bud Ice review that it didn't have it on Untappd, but it did. So color-wise, for the color, I would say the Natural Ice is a little bit less yellow. You could say that Bud Ice, let's just say golden yellow, light golden yellow, where the Natural Ice is light yellow, if you wanted to go that far. I'm going to set these cans off to the side, just right here, so I don't have to keep screwing with them. No head on either one. Bubble level, if anything, at least right now, I would say the Natural Ice has a little bit more bubbles coming up. Let's go ahead and smell, see if we can tell a difference. In my opinion, the higher the ABV, the less sweetness is going to be in the beer, because that means those yeast ate more of that sweetness, which is going to be, in turn, a less sweeter beer unless they add sugar or something back into it after it's done fermenting. If anything, I think the Bud Ice stands out just a little bit. I get a sweet wheat cracker from both of them, but I think the Bud Ice has a little bit more of that coming out. I think, I'm just saying, the extra 10 IBUs help balance that out. You're not really smelling any hops or anything like that. I don't know if it's because it is sweeter, it's going to hold on to more of that crackery component. That's what I'm thinking, just from the smell. Yeah. Yeah, I think the wheat cracker in the Bud Ice comes through a little bit more. So on that, I would rather have a little bit more smell than a little less. That natural ice is almost like nothing. So I would have to give the smell to Bud Ice. Let's go ahead and taste. Yeah, that cracker, that wheat, and there's a little tinniness that I'm getting from that one. I said it in the review of the natural ice that there's a little tinniness there. In the Bud Ice, I don't get that tinniness. You could, if you were doing this blind, I would say they're pretty much the same beers. Um, I could probably say that I would call the natural ice a little higher in ABV because the Bud Ice does taste thicker. It has a thicker body. I shouldn't say taste thicker. I don't know what hops are using in it, but it's almost like it's the same batch. Like it's the same recipe, but for the natural ice, they're just they're letting it freeze a little bit more to create more ice crystals to take them out to drive the ABV up. I mean, they are that close, but that Bud Ice does have a thicker body, and it would make sense because it's 5.5. It's lower than in ABV, so that would mean there's more sweetness in there. I wouldn't say it tastes, when you taste them side by side, that there is more sweetness in the Bud Ice. I can't pick that up. I think that wheat cracker is stronger in the Bud Ice than it is in the natural ice. So in saying that, I guess you could say, if you maybe, that that's why the Bud Ice is more expensive. I was thinking just because of the name brand, but I wonder if it's more expensive because it's has more IBUs in it. So because the Bud Ice uses more hops, it's going to be more expensive. Where if they made the Bud Ice and kept it at 5.5 but went down to 5 IBUs, if they would charge the same price as they would for the natural ice. Because you do see that even in craft beer, if they're double dry hopped, triple dry hopped, or have just a ton of hops in it, you're going to pay more because obviously they're using more ingredients, which is going to cost them more, so it's going on to you. So even though the natural ice has a higher ABV, well, you just let it ferment out more, eat more of the sugar, and that'll up the ABV. And you could almost get away with no added ingredients, or make the same batch, but it's not 15 IBUs. So it does have to be a different batch, but let it freeze a little bit longer, create more of those ice crystals, pull them out, and there's your higher ABV. So I think there's a couple ways you could go, but my guess, I'll stick to it's the hops, or however they put in the IBUs. That's the reason why the Bud Ice is more expensive, is because it has more hops in it. For the winner of the taste, I think on taste I would have to go with the Bud Ice, just because it has a little bit more. tasting them side by side, I think the Natural Ice tastes a little bit more watered down. I don't think they're balanced. Both of them aren't balanced. Both of them need more hops, I believe, just to balance that wheat cracker out. But I can see, I could see people picking this up just to drink. If you don't like bitterness, you're not going to want IBUs in a beer, so it's going to be lower. If you don't like that big hop bomb, obviously you're not going to want hops in a beer. So yeah, go down there. And this has a little weedy cracker, which would be a lager or a pilsner type like that. So I mean, would I rather drink Lager of the Lakes? Yeah, but I think I would have to go with Bud Ice. Yeah, as the overall winner of everything on this. And that's just me. If you like Natural Ice more, put it down below and let me know why. But for what they are, yeah, they're fine. They're, let's say, mainstream beers, so I wouldn't expect them to have, you know, a lot. As we see in craft beer these days, you can go crazy with New England IPAs with bubble gum and strawberry and all that. But yeah, just for a regular off-the-shelf beer, if I was going into a grocery store or a gas station and I wanted a beer, for these two, I would go with Bud Ice. So if you like this review, check some more out over here. And until next time, happy brewing.